Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back to another video on Java for Selenium. In this video, we'll mainly discuss inheritance in Java, how we can use it, and what is the main advantage of using it. So we'll break this video into two parts. What is inheritance, usage of inheritance, how to inherit, and finally the code. So what is inheritance? As the name says, inherit. So we will inherit the sum of the property from the parent class, which we can reuse. So if you take the general example, we all inherit the property of our parents. In the same way, we will have separate classes and we will inherit certain classes so that we can reuse the property or you can say features of the parent class. In other words, using inheritance, you can use parent class variables, methods using child class object. So let's say if you have another class which has written some methods and you don't want to rewrite the same methods again. So what you can do, you can directly extend that inherit class using inheritance, and you can use that methods using child class objects only. So don't worry about the definition part. Once you write the code, you can relate easily what I'm trying to explain here. So the main purpose of inheritance is code reusability, or you can say no code duplication. So both terms are related. So if already one class is there and that class has written certain methods, so we don't have to write the separate methods with the same piece of code. We can directly use them using inheritance. So code duplicacy will be very less. And again, for method overloading, we have to use. So in previous video, we have discussed polymorphism, runtime, compile time. So for compile time, we discussed already method over, uh, sorry, this is for method overriding. Let me make the changes here. So for method overriding, we need to use it. So it should be overriding. So we already discussed overloading using signature. So that comes under compile time. So to achieve overriding, we need to use inheritance. So how to do this, we will discuss. So how to do overriding, we will discuss in a separate video how to override, but in this video we'll mainly focus how we can use this inheritance feature. So let's say we have a parent class and we having child class. So using one keyword called extends, we can inherit all the property of a parent class. So we'll divide this into four parts. So we have a four possible combination, and you can expect this question in interviews as well. There are only four scenarios and we will discuss one by one. But before jumping into scenarios, let me write the code. First of all, let's say if I create a class called base class and package, let's say I want to give this package as inheritance demo. I will not take public static void main because this is my base class where I want to keep certain methods. This base class, I will keep two methods, let's say public void add, and I will say, hey, I am in base class and addition is 250. Any random amount, you can parameterize it. Let's say I have one more method called subtraction, and I will say, hey, I am in base class and subtraction is 150. So I have two methods. Don't worry about the code part. You will do the coding part in framework. So as of now, just try to understand the concept. We have one base class which have two methods called addition and subtraction, which has certain piece of code. Let's say I have another class. This class I will say child class. This class will contain public static void main. This class also have two method, and I will say this is multiplication method, and I will say this is in child class and multiplication is 2500, Let's create one more method, and this time I will say this is division method, and division is 150, or let's say 50 only. So I have two methods here, multiplication, division, and in base class I have addition, subtraction. Now I want to use addition and subtraction, so I have two ways. Either I can write the separate code here, which we have already written in the base class. So if I write the same code here, it will be code duplicacy, right? So if I want to use that particular methods, I can extend this class. So we have one keyword called extends. After extends, you need to write the class name which you want to extend. So the class which I want to extend is the base class. So we need to write simply base class. So automatically whatever methods you have in the base class, it will come here. You will not be able to see, but internally it will get, this child class will have all the methods, two from its own and two methods are coming from the base class. Now let's get started with the scenario. First scenario says, if I create a child class reference and child class object, this will allow to access all the method of base class and child class. So let's go back. If I create object of child class, just make sure what exactly I'm trying to cover. If I create object of child class, let's say obj1 equal to new child class. Using this object, I can access all the method of base class. So base class have addition, subtraction. In child class, we have multiplication and we have division as well. So you can see using child class object, I can access all the method of base class and child class as well. So if I run this code, so it's giving you the expected result. That's quite obvious because we are creating object of child class, so we are able to access all the method of base plus child class. This is your first scenario and that is very straightforward. Let me create one more class. So I will create separate class for each scenario so that you can relate easily. Now, if you go through the definition once again, child class reference and child class object. This will allow you to access all the method of base class in child class that we have already seen. Now if I create base class reference as base class object, again it's quite obvious scenario. This will allow to access only the method of the base class. So what if I create object of base class? So if I say base class obj1 equal to new base class. So you can see when I create object of base class, these two methods is giving error because base class does not have this multiplication and division. So in the second scenario, if you access, if you call, if you create object of base class, you cannot access the child class methods. Very straightforward. So if I run this, only base class method you can call. This is your second scenario. Interesting part will come from the third scenario and the fourth scenario. So the second point is also covered. This is the main entry point for your Selenium and very important for interfaces. This says if I create reference of base class but object of child class, this will allow to access all the method of base class only, not the child class methods. So let me write the code, then I will explain what I mean. So if I create copy of it, so scenario says even though you create object of child class, that's perfectly fine. But if I give the reference of base class, you can see still I'm using the object of child class, but the reference is still pointing to the base class, and in base class we have addition subtraction. So you cannot access the child class object if you have the reference of the base class. This is Java rule. Java says the reference matters a lot. So if the reference is pointing to base, you can only call the base class methods. So this is the third scenario. If you try to read the definition again, this will allow to access all the method of base class only, not the child class. Last one, child class reference and base class object. So this is invalid scenario, and because child cannot hold the parent class object. I mean, if I create copy one more time, I'm doing this copy paste, but if you are new in Java, you can write a separate code for each scenario. It will be beneficial for you. So fourth scenario says vice versa. If I create child class reference, child class, and base class object. So as you can see, even we are creating object of base class, so we cannot store in the child class. And in real world as well, child cannot hold parent, but parent can hold child. So this scenario is invalid, so I will not give much time here because scenario itself is invalid. So mainly you have three scenarios. Let me do a quick recap. We created object of child class and reference also from the child class, so we were able to access base class and child class. In the second scenario, we created base class reference, base class object. In this case, we are able to access only the base class method. Third, which is most important, again, if you create base class reference but object of child class, this will allow you to access all the methods of base class only, not the child class. And fourth scenario is invalid. We cannot create child class references in base class object. So this part, so in this scenario, we are done with the inheritance. So the demo which I have given here, this will show you single level inheritance because you are inheriting only single class. But in Java, you can inherit multiple classes, not multiple, like multi-level classes you can inherit, like A to B, B to C, C to D. So we are going to use this inheritance again in the framework, and you will notice the importance of this. So thank you so much. In the next videos, we will discuss interfaces overriding using inheritance. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.